Hello and thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's film show, one of the most watched televised sports events of all time and a character study of growing up poor and gay in rural France.
Any last word?
I'm done talking. Let's play.
The battle you've all been waiting to see. The battle of the sexes.
Je me suis sauvé pour devenir quelqu'un d'autre. C'est-à-dire soi-même.
Megszöktetett valakit. Hasz 3 napot vissza.
And we're joined in the studio by our film critic Lisa Nesselson. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Eve.
Nice to see you. Now, we're starting with a tennis film. Is Battle of the Sexes a grand slam or is it an ace?
Those are technical sports terms, right? The great thing about this very, very enjoyable movie is that you don't have to know much of anything about tennis or care about it to enjoy it. You could argue that real-life sports heroine Billie Jean King changed professional tennis forever. How did she do that? By insisting that people did indeed want to watch women play tennis, and there was no excuse for paying women less, way less. At this time, 1972, when the film starts, 8 times less than the men were getting. By the time King played Bobby Riggs live on television in front of 90 million viewers worldwide, just like our show here on France 24, the prize money was 6 figures and the stakes were massive. Could a mere woman play well enough to beat a manly man? Here's a clue.
Pretty soon, us fellas aren't going to be able to go to a ball game. We're not going to be able to go fishing. We're not going to be able to stop and have a drink after work. And that's what this whole women's lib thing is about. And it's got to stop. And Bobby Riggs is the man to stop it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Custer's last stand. This is the lobber versus the lever.
Keep talking, Bobby. The more nonsense you spout, the worse it's going to be when you lose.
Well, I'm the ladies' #1. I'm the champ. Why would I lose?
Because dinosaurs can't play tennis.
Well, 40 years on, we clearly have equality between sexes now. Is this film still relevant?
Absolutely. I mean, like you say, universal respect for women everywhere you turn. This film is magnificent. The clothes, the hair, the TV graphics, the music are all spot on. This film was shot on film, not digitally, but actual film running through a camera, the way Christopher Nolan shoots all of his movies, including Dunkirk. And I really think that not only looks better and more like the 70s, but it also has an ineffable something that makes it more emotionally compelling. Shooting on film nowadays is about as rare as a cigarette brand sponsoring a world-class sporting event, because now, incredibly, in retrospect, Virginia Slims, the cigarette for women, underwrote the women's tennis circuit once Billie Jean King and her fellow players broke away and founded it. And this movie has the kind of visual effects I adore. We actually see seamlessly and convincingly the sportscaster Howard Cosell talking in vintage footage, but he's speaking to an actress in the film, and somehow they digitally inserted her. Pertinently, the film's title, Battle of the Sexes, which rhymes with Texas. This took place in the Houston Astrodome. Could have been a headline in the papers, let's say, every single day for the last 6 weeks ago, since Harvey Weinstein's deeply objectionable behavior hit the spotlight.
Okay, well, this isn't just a historically accurate sports story. It's also about the changing attitudes towards homosexuality, isn't it?
Yes, and that's incorporated so smoothly. Emma Stone plays Billie Jean, and she's married to a terrific guy, really, really a fine fellow who understands that her first love will always be tennis. At one point, she meets a female hairdresser named Marilyn, and unmistakable sparks fly between them. But this is very, very dangerous because at that time, homosexuality was still considered an aberration, and no sponsor would want to have anything to do with it. The directors are a heterosexual couple in real life who really have brought incredible finesse to this awkward, risky, but sincere story of love on the tennis circuit. And I have to say, Emma Stone and Andrea Riseborough are very sweet and sexy and touching.
Okay, well, I look forward to seeing that. Well, now to our French pick of the week, Reinventing Marvin. Now, it's a true story about being gay and poor in rural France. Tell us more.
True story, sort of adapted from a book, first person, strange. They're saying it is, they're saying it isn't. In the case of the man who wrote it, he grew up to be a famous prize-winning writer. Here it's been modified to an actor. This is the 15th feature directed by Anne Fontaine. You may have seen her Coco before Chanel, in which Audrey Tautou played the budding fashion designer. This fits right into the persistent drumbeat to be as inclusive as possible when it comes to human behavior and sexual orientation. And it probably doesn't make it any easier to claim your identity if you're completely different from everyone else in your family, in your community, maybe in your whole part of the country. And boy, oh boy, is young Marvin different. He's artistic and sensitive, and he has this ethereal physical beauty. And the rest of his family is militantly heterosexual, gets testy if a meal doesn't include French fries and beer, probably including breakfast, and would sooner shoot a fancy vocabulary word than utter it. French people tend to love this film, and English-speaking people, myself included, think it's over the top. But I adore Finnegan Oldfield, who plays the teen and young adult Marvin, who, thanks to two teachers who see his potential, ends up going to Paris, where an older gay man takes him under his wing, and of course introduces him to Isabelle Huppert, who's played by the real Isabelle Huppert, who's enthusiastic about working with him in a one-man show with incorporating her about his low-income family. Let's take a look.
Quel est votre rapport avec le théâtre? Je fais un seul en scène. Votre avis compte énormément pour moi.
D'où ça vient ça? D'où il tient ça, lui? Je l'ai cogné, moi? Moi, ouais, j'ai été cogné, moi.
C'est nos vies que tu traînes dans la merde. T'es en train de nous tuer tous.
C'est pas plutôt l'inverse? C'est pas plutôt vous qui avez essayé de me tuer, moi?
Apparently this is a film that's full of quite a few cliches.
You could say that, wall-to-wall cliches, but even if most of them actually happen, the performances are wonderful, especially the young and adult Marvin. But this is an excellent example of cultural variations in how people respond to material. Personally, I wanted to find the stork that mistakenly delivered young Marvin to not only a completely inappropriate family opposed to his nature, but wring the bird's neck for just egregious carelessness. My French colleagues have been moved to tears.
Okay, well, next to a movie that's been called a superhero film, I'm not sure about that, but like none you've ever seen. We saw it at the Cannes Film Festival this year. It's highly ambitious. For me, it doesn't ever really take flight. What do you think?
You know, I saw that this won the top prize at the festival that's called L'Étrange Festival, the Strange Festival, here in Paris in September. And I think that's fitting because it's a very strange film. There are more creative ways to explore the plight of refugees and immigrants than saying, hey, let's build a wall between the United States and Mexico. And by the way, I urge everyone to go to the internet and look up an absolutely brilliant short film called Best of Luck with the Wall, which is made from stitched together satellite photos, about 200,000 of them, and you instantly see how absurd trying to build a wall would be. Jupiter's Moon follows the fortunes of a young illegal immigrant from Syria who gets separated from his father under very chaotic circumstances, and an overzealous immigration officer shoots him. He recovers, and when he recovers, he has somehow acquired the ability to fly, actually fly up into the air. So he falls into an uneasy partnership with a doctor facing a malpractice suit for something he did while he was under the influence of alcohol. And the doctor has this young man go and fly for wealthy patients who equate him with an angel because angels can fly and also heal. And so this is a parable, a science fiction tale, and hard-edged social commentary, all sort of mixed together into one sort of messy clump. But it is intellectual, and it is also action-packed. Let's take a look. And as for his ability to fly, which is imparted and just accepted, I think that there's a lot of people stuck in refugee camps in horrible situations far from home who would wish they could just fly rather than try and deal with red tape and maybe be deported back to the untenable places they fled in the first place.
Okay, well, thanks for telling us about Jupiter's Moon. Now we're going to move on to an annual event that takes place here in Paris. It's called the État du Monde Festival, which translates as the state of the world. Now, imagine this is not a place to go if you think films are to escape reality.
Well, maybe not, but on the other hand, it can be very gratifying to see what other people's lives are like, and then you walk out very grateful, perhaps, for the blessings you have. This is a magnificently curated event with lots of top-notch guests, and it's dedicating to taking a sort of geopolitical snapshot of the world as it is right now this year. It's held at the Forum des Images, which I can't recommend enough. It's a wonderful place to visit, especially if you've been to Paris as a tourist a number of times and are looking for something new. It's a video archive dedicated to preserving moving images of Paris back to the beginning of film. And they also program 5 screens, and they have wonderful festivals throughout the year. This one is a crash course in history, and wherever you are, you can learn a lot just by reading the blurbs in the catalog, which I encourage you to do on the internet. Mohamed Rassoulov's latest film, Un homme intègre, opened the event, alas without him, as he's being detained by the Iranian authorities. Contemporary Lebanese cinema is another highlight. And of course, they are doing a tribute to the incredibly talented Chilean director, Pablo Larraín. He's dug deep into his own country's history over a series of wonderful films, and his first film in English was the astonishing Jackie, shot mostly here in France, with Natalie Portman as Jackie Kennedy in the immediate aftermath of JFK's assassination, which, believe it or not, was 54 years ago this week. Alleged lone gunman Lee Harvey Oswald was apprehended in a cinema, and I have this artifact from about 55 years ago. This is a memorial, not memorial, no, they were very much alive when this was manufactured, the President and Mrs. Kennedy, and I would just like to say we have to make America plate again. Make America plate.
Oh my goodness. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us, and we're going to leave you with a snippet from Pablo Larraín's Jackie, being shown at the State of the World Festival on at the Forum des Images until the 26th of November here in Paris. Remember our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
You remember Governor Mrs. Connolly?
Yes, welcome to Dallas, darling.